Welcome to the Church Answers podcast, sponsored by Belay. Ever since we've been doing this podcast, Belay has been making a download affordable, available for you. It is called How You Can Get Someone to Delegate. You can delegate tasks, and we can get that correct in a minute. Let me say it this way. 25 tasks a pastor can delegate to an assistant. That's a great start. Why not? I'm not going to even edit it. I'm just going to go straight through this. Belay Solutions, our great sponsor, our exclusive sponsor, our founding sponsor. As you've heard from me, I have used them for years to provide us virtual solutions in personnel. Check them out, belaysolutions.com, or check out the download at belaysolutions.com/Thom Rainer. Okay, I recently finished a consultation. I don't do that many site consultations myself these days. I send my team to do so at this particular place of my ministry. That is just one of the choices I've made, but I recently did one. I'm not getting into the reasons why I chose to do this one compared to some others, but I chose to do this one. And here's one thing I found in this particular church, and it's not unusual. They were not tracking worship attendance. They had several reasons that I've heard again and again from churches why they don't. We don't think it's accurate. We're not able to get people to count. I mean, there's really no good excuse not to count your worship attendance. I've seen churches of 20 count worship attendance. That's fairly easy. I've seen churches of 20,000 count worship attendance, and it's pretty easy for them as well. So I just want to talk about why tracking worship attendance is vital to know the health of your church. The act of tracking worship attendance is not the health issue, but knowing how many are coming to your worship is important. So let's begin to address some of the reasons why tracking worship attendance is vital. First of all, it's the big number. Now, what do I mean by the big number? What I mean by the big number is in most churches, it is the place where you have the most people on a given period of time, typically Sunday morning. And so it is the way to determine how many of your members and guests and attendees that are in either category are coming to your church every single week. It's the big number. I grew up in a denomination that where Sunday school was pretty important, and they kept very close records of that. And it was very healthy because we could tell who was coming, who was not coming. We were able to get down to the precision of not only how many, but who as well. That's good. Counting small groups, community groups, life group, hope groups, those are very important. But in most churches, worship is the big number. There are some exceptions. There are some exceptions where group numbers are bigger, Sunday school numbers are bigger. I get that. But out of the roughly 350 to 400,000 churches in the United States, for most of them, worship attendance is going to be their big number. So that becomes the gauge by which you then to measure the participation in the life of your church, because it is the most where anyone will come in any one segment of ministry. Now, just a little bit of a side here, because I want to acknowledge that there are a number of churches where Sunday morning is not the only container, if you will, for attendees. There might be a Thursday night service. There may be other campuses. But you add up all of the people who come to any one of these as their primary worship time during the week, and you see the big number. It's the big number. It's going to give you the overall indicator of the participation in the life of your church, which brings me to the second point. That number is a key church health indicator. That number is a key church health indicator. When you get this big number, what do you then know? You know, on the high side, how many people are participating on average in the life of your church in a week. And if you follow the trends of these, and we'll get into that as the fourth point in just a moment, if you follow the trends of these, it will give you a good idea about the health of your own church. So it's a church health indicator. Why is it? Well, it's biblical. The writer of Hebrews told us to forsake not the assembling of the saints. It is a way that we understand that people are bought into the life of the church. They see the importance of the church. They're able to declare out with certainty, I am a church member, and they mean it enthusiastically. It's a key church health indicator. Third, it's easier than you think. I attend a church of about 200 in attendance. And on a Sunday morning, what is typically taking place is one person is in the worship center for each of the two worship services. We have a 9 o'clock and a 10:30. And it might be the same person, but one person is counting those in attendance there. The other person is going by each of the children's rooms and asking how many are there. And they just total it all up. Of course, they have the breakdown between in the worship service and the children. And that's what I want to bring up too. This counts everybody who is there, from the youngest child to the oldest person. It counts everybody who's there. So in a small church, it can seem very easy. But as I told you at the beginning of this, I've been in a church of 20,000 in attendance, and I'm talking about in one service. And in that particular service, I watched what took place because I was looking for it. They were very subtle, but they had people in charge of certain sections of the worship center. And sometimes they had as many as 2 people so that they could confirm numbers, but they had people counting each section of the worship center. And of course, they added them together. A church of 200 can do it. A church of 20 can do it. A church of 20,000 can do it. And as I mentioned earlier, this particular number can be very important for your trends. It can help you to know whether or not the church is moving in mostly a healthy direction or not. We're watching these trends carefully and comparing them to 2019. Because 2019 was the last pre-COVID year before the big COVID year of primarily 2020. And we're seeing what is happening in worship attendance. Really, right now, approximately 15% decline in churches since 2019. Approximately that for the average. We are hoping, praying, that the pre-COVID number will not stay as an average below the post-COVID number will not stay as an average below the pre-COVID number, and that gap will close. But it's been staying pretty consistent in the 15 to 20% decline range. That is helping us to know what is the trend of churches in this post-COVID era. So it's easy to track. It provides you a guide on the health of the church. It's a church health indicator, and it's the big number. So if you are not counting worship attendance, don't think that counting is just being all about the numbers. How many times have we heard nickels and noses? And it's not all about that. It is an indication about those who are participating in the life of your church. And you need to know that number because you need to be a good steward of the ministries that are taking place there. So why track worship attendance is vital? It is vital for the health of the church. It's vital for you to know the direction that is going. It is something that is easy to do. It is the big number where the most come at any one period of time. And I would just commend any and every church to do it. That's my recommendation. This is the Church Answers Podcast. Thank you, Belay, as always. Go and look at their website, belaysolutions.com, and look at the opportunities they have to bring virtual workers to your team. And once again, I will see you in the next episode as we continue to look at these vital issues in the life of the church at the Church Answers Podcast. Hey, folks, this is a PS to our podcast. We got some exciting stuff that we want to offer you absolutely for free. Sam, when you think about predictive factors in a church's growth, if you take out demographics, what are some things that come to mind? Just 2. I mean, don't give me a list of 10. Just 2 or 3 things that come to mind on predictive growth of a church.
Well, evangelism and whether the church is doing it or not.
Bingo.
And then I will add, is it an ongoing evangelism emphasis?
Double bingo. Well? And maybe something about leadership and their commitment to that. So all of the above.
Evangelistic churches have evangelistic pastors. Is the staff, is the lead pastor doing the work themselves?
We have a free download for you, and it's actually a sheet that you can self-score. You answer 20 questions, anywhere from strongly disagree to strongly agree, and we come back and we predict what your growth rate is going to be for the next year in worship attendance. It's not a perfect tool, but it's a good tool. There's a link to that for the attendance predictor. Look in the show notes. You'll absolutely love it. That's cool. We'll see you soon.